So I have granted summary judgment in favor of the Four Seasons Washington because they have limited liability pursuant in the District of Columbia's innkeeper statute, and on their alternative ground that Thelma and Christina Paraskevaides are contributory negligent for their in-room safes instead of the hotel safety deposit box to store $1.2 million worth of jewelry. In the appellate court system, the case is represented by two separate but yet equally indigent groups. The appellants are seeking reversal of a decision and the appellees are defending themselves. This is their story. We are here to oversee the case Paraskevaides versus Four Seasons Washington. Would the appellates like to begin with some history of this case?
Our story begins on a September night in 1977. Are you excited to meet the First Lady?
I'm really excited. I'm excited for breakfast tomorrow with Secretary of State as well.
Yeah.
Where should we put all of our jewelry?
Maybe just the in-room safe, because downstairs it seemed kind of.
Yeah, I noticed that like the safety deposit box was right in front of the check-in, and that seemed like a really public area for our jewels.
I agree, especially with it being so much. I think it's better just
To put it in the safe.
Yeah,
Okay, I agree.
yeah.
That's way better.
perfect.
Okay, well, let's put this in here. You want to put your glasses in?
Yeah. Water safe.
And your pearls. That's smart. Okay. Close it. Let's do. Okay, that should be safe. We'll be back later. Check. Perfect. That was a lot of fun. Okay. Oh my god.
Wait, what the heck?
Our jewels are gone.
What? No.
That's
We need to call the police. You know what's weird?
what?
I didn't see any kind of like signage at all.
Yeah. Well, because I remember the manager saying that they weren't liable because they had signage, but I didn't see any inside the lobby or anything like that.
No, nothing in the room.
Yeah.
Except there was that.
Did you
Wasn't there a little
something in the
thing
back?
in the back of the corner?
I don't know. Let's go check.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't see. Oh, look. Do you see that? It's so tiny.
Like, John, but how are we gonna get all of our jewels back? I doubt they're gonna find the person.
No. Over $1 million.
Yeah.
No.
No way we're gonna get that back. So should we should probably sue the hotel then, right?
Yeah, we should see what we can do.
Okay.
And the missing jewelry, worth $1.2 million, were never recovered by the police.
Does the representative from Four Seasons want to outline the decisions from the district court?
The district courts were correct in the fact that they ruled in our favor for summary judgment. They had agreed with our defense that we had limited liability based on the District of Columbia's Innkeeper Law Code 30-101. The law states that the hotel must provide a suitable depository for the safekeeping of personal property, in which the Four Seasons provided through both the in-room safe and the complimentary safety deposit box, and conspicuously displayed a printed copy of the statute of limited liability, in which we did. Furthermore, the courts agreed that Ms. Paraskevaides were contributory negligent in the fact that they did not use my client's complimentary safety deposit box to hold their $1.2 million worth of jewelry.
May the plaintiff please state their reason for the appeal.
Your Honor, Ms. and Mrs. Paraskevaides are here to appeal the district court's decision that the Four Seasons had limited liability of their stolen property on the grounds that the Four Seasons failed to fully comply with the DC's Code 30-101. The general common law doctrine of infra hospitium says strict liability for the loss of damage of a guest property. However, some jurisdictions have limited an innkeeper's liability, such as the DC's Code. DC Code 30-101 limits liabilities to its guests only if a hotel provides its guests of a suitable depository for the safekeeping of their valuable items and notifies guests conspicuously of the statutory limitation in guest and public rooms of the establishment. While there was a sign in the back of the closet where the in-room safe was, There was no signage in the public rooms of the establishment. Since DC's statutes deviates from common law, it must be strictly construed.
The appellees may state their response.
Thank you, Your Honor. The Paraskevaides cannot say that they were unaware of the hotel's suitable dispository of the safety deposit box and the hotel's limited liability because they are frequent guests of the Four Seasons. On several different occasions, the Paraskevaides have used the Four Seasons safety deposit box to store their valuables. Their use of the hotel safety deposit box from prior visits showed that they are aware of the hotel's limited liability.
The appellants may respond to their case.
Whether or not my client had noticed or was aware of the hotel's limited liability is irrelevant to the fact that the Four Seasons failed to abide by the statute's terms. The Four Seasons did not display a copy or summary of the statute in the public rooms of the hotel. The statute says that a hotel must display a printed copy or summary of the statute in the guest and the public rooms of the hotel in order to limit its liability to guests. The Four Seasons failed to comply fully with the statute's requirements and thus failed to ensure their limited liability.
The appellees may state their response.
While the Four Seasons failed to post a summary of the statute in the public rooms, the most reasonable interpretation of the statute does not require the posting of the necessary notice in a public room for this case. The placement of the posting required in the statute pertains to the type of individual in the room. The notice in the public rooms are for patrons of the hotel, and the notice in the guest rooms is for the guests of the hotel. Since the Paraskevaides were guests, the posting of the limited liability in the guest room was sufficient.
The appellees may state their response.
The argument that the statute applies differently to different classes of person who visits hotels is weak and unreasonable. The statute says what it says, and a written copy or summary of the statute's liability must be placed in public and guest rooms. The Four Seasons only complied with part of the statutory requirement, and thus the statute does not apply and cannot limit the Four Seasons liability. Since the district courts did not reach a conclusion over whether common law applies in DC, we ask the appeals court to remand the issue of Four Seasons liability to the district courts for further proceedings, keeping in mind that any deviation of common law from the DC statute must be strictly construed.
On the matter of the Paraskevaides contributionary negligence, can the appellees explain what occurred in the district court?
The district court ruled that ultimately the Paraskevaides were negligent for choosing to place the $1.2 million worth of jewelry in the hotel safe when there was a safety deposit box available. In normal cases, contributor negligence is decided by a jury, except in exceptional cases where the evidence is so clear and undisputed that a fair-minded man can only draw one conclusion, then courts decide. The district court ruled that this is a rare, exceptional case that a fair-minded jury could only reach one decision, and so they ruled that the Paraskevaides were negligent and completely bare to any recover.
May the appellant please state their reasons for the appeal?
My colleague, Susan Condon, will now take over the matter of whether or not the Paraskevaides were contributory negligent.
Thank you, Barbara. The Paraskevaides don't normally travel with $1.2 million worth of jewelry, but they did have a high-profile political events to attend, with important political figures such as the Secretary of State and First Lady. They were able to provide evidence that they were uncomfortable to leave their things in a safety deposit box because it was not in a private place, but rather a room facing the lobby. They felt it was a safer option to place their valuables in a locked-in room convenience safe. We cannot conclude that by traveling with valuable jewelry to attend a high-level political functions and that placing those valuables in a locked room safe because it was more remote and appeared safer than the safety deposit box, that Paraskevaides were negligent as a matter of law. These facts present genuine issue of material fact that is better decided by a jury, because traveling with valuables is not a negligent behavior. To be guilty of contributory negligence, the Paraskevaides' own conduct must have been unreasonable in view of foreseeable risk. But is someone coming into your room with a master key a foreseeable risk? I believe a jury would say no. The fact of the matter is, the master key was used to enter the Paraskevaides' room and then enter their locked safes. Not knowing a master key was unaccounted for, the Paraskevaides were not unreasonable in using the in-room safes. These are issues that should be decided by a jury. We cannot conclude that by placing items of value in a locked safe located in a locked room, that Paraskevaides were negligent by law. It is not for a court to decide whether the circumstances in which it is acceptable for a guest to use the in-room safes for the value of items that a guest may place in the safes without being considered negligent.
The appellate court has now ruled to reverse the district court's decision that the Paraskevaides were contributory negligent and direct that issue to be declared by a jury. We remand the issue of Four Seasons liability to the district courts for further proceeding. Court is now adjourned.